Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode of Coaching Conversations. And I wanted to make you aware of something very cool that we're doing on a subscription basis, and we'll put a link in each one of our episodes. But every Wednesday, we're going to be doing what we call an audio podcast workshop. That workshop will be roughly about 14 to maybe 20 minutes per episode, with each month having a theme from a coaching model, using feedback strategically, to coaching self-awareness, and so on. So if you could look in the body or in the content description of each episode, and you will see a link where you can join this subscription. These are literally 4 workshops every month, teaching specific strategies to address a particular area of workplace coaching, as it relates, again, to things like awareness, motivation, teamwork, and what have you. Here's the cool thing. It's only $10 per month, and each month you will get a handout that we will follow along with. So we also give you a tool for you to take notes as we go through each episode. We hope you'll check it out.
You know, yesterday I was working with 2 different companies, and it was really funny because one of the major things that came out of every session I led yesterday is people alluding to something called self-awareness. Now, what is self-awareness? Self-awareness, for a lack of better description, is when somebody is honest with themselves, looks in the mirror, and says, here's where I have strengths and here's where I have opportunities to improve. Now, when you think about self-awareness, I still love, and I've cited the book so many times, Insight by Tasha Eurich, where she did a survey where she asked people, are you self-aware? 95% of the people said they were highly self-aware. Let me repeat that. Highly self-aware. When she tested them, she found out only 10% of those people were somewhat aware. Now, when you have a conversation with somebody and you have somebody who's, let's say, interruptive or disruptive, and maybe an hour or 2 later, you say, well, how do you think the conversation went? And that person says, I thought it went great. They're not really aware of how they came off. Most people don't spend time becoming self-aware. Yet think about when you're talking to somebody and you're giving them feedback and they roll their eyes, they fold their arms, and later they might say, well, I wasn't disrespectful. They're not aware of how they're coming off or how their behaviors are exhibiting themselves. We need, no matter what we do, whether it's training, talent development, learning, coaching, mentoring, we cannot have success without self-awareness. Think about it. You cannot change what you don't acknowledge. You cannot change or improve what you don't admit. And it's so funny because people will tell you they're highly self-aware when in fact they're not. So think about that study. 85% of people, 8.5 out of 10, almost 9 out of 10 people are fooling themselves. Think about that. Nothing works in terms of people development without establishing self-awareness. Now, how do you go about doing that? First of all, we have to become gifted with questions. When you tell someone you have a negative attitude, somebody is not likely to look at you and say, you know what, I think you're right. They're going to do what? They're going to be resistant. How dare you? And then they're going to show themselves permission to acknowledge your emotion or, take what you did or how you did it out of context. Now, if you go up to someone with a negative attitude and say, what are you going to do to positively engage with your teammates? Where do you feel like you have an opportunity to become more collaborative with your teammates? What are 2 things that you do well with your teammates? And what's that one area where you feel like you could tighten the relationships more? Those are questions that will start to establish self-awareness. Now, questions ignite self-awareness. How do we confirm self-awareness? Think about training. Think about going to a workshop. And this is one of my pet peeves for 30 years. And when a client will say, we're going to have everyone fill out an evaluation form, I've said, okay, great. I said, do you mind if I look at the form? And there's always things like, did you enjoy the class? Did you learn something, which is rhetorical? Did the instructor seem to know the material? And I laugh at that because it's like, well, aren't they there because they don't know the material? And I've had clients say, well, what would you ask? I said, ask them how they're going to apply it. And here are 3 questions I would encourage you that speak to application, yet more importantly, have a foundation of self-awareness. Number one, what did you specifically learn? Not, did you learn something? What did you specifically learn? Notice the word specifically. Number two, here's a really strong self-awareness question. What did you learn about yourself you're positively committed to improving? Again, strong self-awareness question. What did you specifically learn about yourself you are positively committed to improving? That uses a self-actualized question, positively committed to improving. That frames out their response. Number three, based on what you learn, what positive steps are you going to take going forward, and what would you like me to do to assist you? Now, the third one is really a self-awareness action question. You're going to put your learning into action. You're going to lay out the steps. Now it ignites a coaching or a mentoring conversation or a relationship. Without self-awareness, without people looking in the mirror, talent development, mentoring, and coaching will have fractional success without it. So again, we can use assessment tools, we can use questions, yet I would encourage you to use those three questions. Drawing upon people's experiences, whether it be training, interactions with teammates, books that they've read, prior experiences, prior work engagements that they've had. What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself you're positively committed to improving? What specific steps are you going to take going forward positively based on what you learned? If you can create those questions and have those roll off your tongue, you're going to establish self-awareness. Yet more importantly, you're going to continue to crack that door open that is typically locked tightly, called the self-awareness door. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagen and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21-day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.